Hello, I'm Adinser and let's talk disco. Out of all the healers, the hardest job falls onto this spec when it comes to dungeons. Being the absorption healers that they are, discos don't have much in terms of pure healing spells like every other healer does, so we are severely limited. Fortunately, we have one saving grace. Or should I say our entire talent tree. It gives us awesome spells that help us cope with the incredible damage in challenge modes. First of all, there are two playstyles depending on what you pick in the talent tree. There is the Clarity of Will Power Infusion playstyle, which is the most common in raids, and it works in dungeons as well. It relies heavily on casting Clarity before large pulls and boss fights, and maintaining the buff as much as possible on the tank primarily. There are major pitfalls with this though. A lot of the time, since you are always playing for time in challenge modes, you won't get a chance to pre-cast Clarity, and the spell by itself isn't that good when you need to heal someone that is injured, mostly because of its long cast time. Power Infusion helps here, so the gist of the playstyle is to pre-cast whenever you can and keep it on targets. When you see it falling off and you need to continue spamming it, use Power Infusion to increase its cast time. Though even with Power Infusion it will fall off eventually, and you have very few spells to top people off. In that case, it gets incredibly hard to heal, especially if Archangel falls off as well. Plus, you can't really maintain Archangel as well as you would otherwise because you are spamming Clarity all the time. So then there is the second way to heal. It's based on Saving Grace. The talent works great with Fists of Fate. You just have to heal people lower than 35% of their maximum HP, but that happens often. So the talent gives you what you lack the most, a strong throughput heal. Though it might need you to learn to use it effectively because of the debuff it gives you. It is used in PvP, so I would suggest playing a few skirmishes or arenas to get used to it. You can even use Power Infusion with this talent, since it gives you two ways to do amazing healing when the party is in trouble, but generally Twists grants more HPS. So, the Clarity playstyle is a proactive one and the Saving Grace is a reactive one. So in theory, you should pick the one you like the most and stick with it. Though there are some situations that require you to switch. For instance, when the plan your group has thought of for a particular dungeon, like Blackrock Spire, where you do a big pull at the start with Bloodlust. You are really required to play with Clarity here, since it deals superbly with big pulls that don't last long. Contrary to that, you have dungeons like Everbloom where there are no big pulls, and you can use whichever playstyle you want since you have enough time before every fight to precast Clarity. And then there are the third kinds of situations where you don't have time to rest and precast Clarity at all. Then you are forced to go with Saving Grace. So the disco requires a lot of planning and thinking of the dungeon layout and the strategy of the party, as well as the composition of the party. If you have a class for a tank that can't heal himself effectively, Clarity is a must. Even small things like that have to be considered always, and all in all it is a thinking man's spec, much more than it is for raids. As for the rest of our talents, there still are alterations from raids. Angelic Feather has more utility in dungeons because there are only 5 people and far less clutter and confusion, so you can use it on other people easily. Surge of Light is also better than the other two spells, again same as Saving Grace. It gives you an insta-cast throughput heal which you most lack. And mana isn't an issue since you always can find times to drink in every dungeon, and you don't waste much of it anyway. Plus the bosses don't last that long. Psychic Scream is also better than the rest because it interrupts spellcasting of adds or can be used as a simple CC. For the level 90 talents, Divine Star is the best one. You can easily heal 4 or 5 people with it every time, and it almost always gives you stacks of Surge of Light. There is one more really important thing to mention, and that's our Silence. No other healer has it, and it is very useful, plus it's ranged. So if the party lacks silences and interrupts, or they are just not skilled enough to use them, you have yours. Also, Fear Ward is very useful. You will get feared in a couple of dungeons, so use it on cooldown always. On yourself, of course, since you can't heal while feared, and your job as a healer is the most important one. As for the major cooldowns like Power Infusion, Barrier and Pain Suppression, same as for the Paladin, use them whenever you need it. Remember that the adds are more threatening than the bosses, so don't be afraid to waste them. Also, keep DPSing at all times, mostly to have Archangel on cooldown, but you do decent DPS anyway. That's all there is to know about the Disciplined Priest for dungeons. Hope it helped someone. The next one is the Holy Priest. Thanks for watching and see ya then.